Hello and good evening. Well, cricket's greatest show is all set to get underway tomorrow. ICC World Cup 2019 is beginning at 3 p.m. on Thursday with a clash between hosts England and South Africa at the iconic Kensington Oval in London. We'll have details on it for you on Newsnight tonight. I'm Gautam Roy. The other global event unfolding tomorrow is at 7 p.m. in the forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be sworn in for a historic second term along with his Council of Ministers. It's going to be a ceremony of many firsts with several embedded messages, not just for the country, but also for the international community at large. We'll be talking about that with our special guests tonight as well, but first, our headlines. Narendra Modi will be sworn in for the second time tomorrow as India's Prime Minister. President Ramnath Kovind will administer the oath of office to the PM and his Council of Ministers. Leaders of BIMSTEC states, Prime Minister of Mauritius and President of Kyrgyzstan to attend the ceremony. Ahead of the swearing in, the PM will pay homage to the father of the nation at Rajghat. He'll also bow to Atal Bihari Vajpayee at his memorial and salute the country's martyrs at the National War Memorial. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley opts out of cabinet ahead of the swearing in, citing health problems. Writes Prime Minister Narendra Modi to let him know about his decision. Time magazine says Narendra Modi has united India like no Prime Minister in decades. Also says in reaching the very top, he personifies the aspirational working classes and can self-identify with his country's poorest citizens. Major setback for the Gandhis in the National Herald case. Properties worth 64 crore rupees attached permanently by the Enforcement Directorate. Properties located in Haryana's Panchkula were attached by the probe agency in December 2018. The adjudicating authority has confirmed the attachment. Leadership crisis continues in the Congress. Party President Rahul Gandhi insists on his resignation. Hectic parleys are underway to convince him to do otherwise. Congress-JDS coalition government in Karnataka is in damage control mode. RJD also chairs a meeting. And the greatest carnival of cricket is all set to get underway tomorrow in London. Hosts England will take on South Africa in the first of 48 round-robin matches of ICC Cricket World Cup 2019 at 3 p.m. at the Kensington Oval. Well, a big moment for the country is set to unfold tomorrow. Rashtrapati Bhavan is all set for the swearing-in ceremony of Team Modi 2.0. Nearly 8,000 guests, and that's unprecedented, will look on as President Ramnath Kovind will be administering the oath of office in secrecy to Narendra Modi and his Council of Ministers, a list which till now remains under wraps. Well, the list of invitees, on the other hand, sends out its own potent messages. Apart from foreign envoys, top dignitaries and celebrities, the guests include leaders of the Bay of Bengal Initiative, a regional grouping that bridges both SAARC and ASEAN, and kin of those killed in West Bengal political violence, BJP workers. And before being sworn in as the PM, he's paying homage to the father of the nation at Rajghat in the morning, also bowing to Atal Bihari Vajpayee at his memorial and saluting the country's martyrs at the National War Memorial.
Narendra Damodar Das Modi.
Images of the 26th of May 2014 are all set to be replayed on Thursday. Narendra Modi will again be administered the oath of office of the Prime Minister of India at 7 p.m. after getting an even more resounding mandate in 2019 from the people of the country than the first time around. President Ramnath Kovind will swear the Prime Minister in along with his Council of Ministers. The Rashtrapati Bhavan is all decked up for the grand ceremony, which will take place in the regal forecourt of the sprawling complex. World leaders, national and international dignitaries are among the invitees for the oath-taking. In 2014, the PM had invited SAARC leaders to be part of the history-making event, and this time BIMSTEC leaders will be part of the event. All BIMSTEC leaders have confirmed their attendance or are sending their emissaries. Those participating include Bangladesh President Abdul Hamid, Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena, Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, Myanmarese President U Win Myint, Bhutanese Prime Minister Lothe Tshering, Thailand's Special Envoy Grisada Bunrak, Mauritian Prime Minister Pravind Jagannath, and current Shanghai Cooperation Organization President and Kyrgyzstan President Suranbay Jeenbekov have confirmed their attendance. The ceremony will have a total of 8,000 invitees in attendance. Apart from foreign guests, dignitaries participating from home include governors, chief ministers and leaders of all major opposition political parties. Former presidents and prime ministers have also been invited. All members of parliament have been sent invitations. Even ambassadors and high commissioners of all foreign countries have been invited. Several intellectuals and celebrities will also be attending. In a first and symbolic gesture of PM's solidarity, kin of BJP workers killed in incidents of political violence in West Bengal have also been invited to the ceremony. This will be the fourth occasion when the oath-taking ceremony will be conducted at the Rashtrapati Bhavan's forecourt instead of the Darbar Hall. It was former Prime Minister Chandrasekhar who took the ceremony outdoors in the 1990s. Then it was Atal Bihari Vajpayee in 1998, and Prime Minister Modi followed in his footsteps in 2014. Several other ministers will also be sworn in along with the Prime Minister, but their identities will be revealed only when their names are called out. It's going to be a special evening in many respects for the invitees. Apart from snacks, a lavish dinner spread will also be laid out. The high tea will have samosa, sandwiches and rajbhog. The swearing-in ceremony will be followed by dinner. Dal Raisina will be the star of the dinner menu. The speciality of the lentil soup is its cooking time of 8 hours. Clearly a memorable evening for all those in attendance lies in store. And while the world will be watching the reascendance of the globe's most popular elected leader, it's those who have given him his formidable mandate who will look on with countless hopes and dreams reflected in their eyes.
कभी हम दो हो गए और आज दोबारा आ गए.
With Sudhakar Das and Sudhir Yadav, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Well, that brings up our In Focus tonight, which is Modi Government 2.0 grand swearing in tomorrow. And to talk about it, we have Dilip Sinha, former diplomat, in our studio with us. Dilip Sinha, that's going to be quite an occasion tomorrow when the Prime Minister is sworn in for a second time, and remarkable the fact that this time around, instead of SAARC leaders as he did in 2014, he's invited the BIMSTEC leaders, and that has been a focus for his first term, as well, as soon as he realized that SAARC is being impeded, it's being held back because of the kind of attitude that Pakistan has had.
Yes, that's true. In fact, this is also a reassertion of 2 points. One is that India's neighborhood doesn't only include SAARC countries. India's neighborhood actually extends beyond the South Asian region that we...
Neighborhood first plus.
Exactly. Well, Myanmar is also part of India's neighborhood, yes, as is Thailand. So that feeling that India is cramped into a South Asian region only is a very limiting factor in our understanding of India's regional status. Besides, it also emphasizes the Act East policy of the government, and it also brings into focus this relatively new organization. BIMSTEC is only about 2 decades old, and it started off as a very small organization of 4 countries, and then it's now expanded to 7 countries. So it's a reiteration of both these points, that India's neighborhood extends beyond South Asia, and also that we have an Act East policy which we wish to emphasize, and BIMSTEC is going to be the vehicle of that.
Right. And how do things stand really in BIMSTEC? Because we've seen that there's been a lot of emphasis on connectivity and of course boosting security, cooperation as well. But the scope of even trade, I believe, is some people are saying at least fivefold.
Yes, BIMSTEC is an aspirational organization. It's still an organization in the making. There's an negotiation going on for a free trade area. It is not an easy organization to deal with because it cuts across two regional organizations, the SAARC and ASEAN. Okay. Two of the members, Myanmar and Thailand, are members of ASEAN, and India and the other countries are members of SAARC. So it has this cross-regional importance, which is important, but it also makes negotiations slower. But it's also extremely important because that means that when it succeeds, it will link India very strongly with ASEAN.
Mm-hmm. And where do you think rapid progress could be made? Because the Prime Minister will be having some bilaterals as well after the swearing-in ceremony with some of those leaders who are coming in.
Well, yes, bilaterally, of course, all these countries are extremely important. Our relations with Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, all these countries are extremely important, as in Myanmar and Thailand. But in terms of the BIMSTEC importance, the fact that we are now looking at this the Bay of Bengal region, and the fact that not only is free trade area important in this, but also disaster management, the utilization of the maritime resources of this area. That is extremely important because all these countries are around the Bay of Bengal, which has so far not been very not been in the news.
Yes.
And besides, it is also a region in which there is relative peace because all these countries, India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, have resolved their maritime disputes through international mechanisms, and that's extremely important. That means that
we've resolved our territorial dispute with Bangladesh as well.
Exactly, with maritime dispute also.
Highlights of the first term of the Modi government.
Absolutely, the maritime dispute was resolved, as also between Bangladesh and Myanmar and Thailand. So this shows the commitment of these countries to utilizing international mechanisms and resolving their disputes through peaceful means, which is the whole idea behind regional cooperation.
Let's also bring in Sanjay Singh, political editor of firstpost.com. He's joined us now. Sanjay, welcome. And what do you make of the way this ceremony has been planned? It's not just about BIMSTEC, which sends out a key message to the entire international community, especially those who, such as countries in Central Asia as well. Kyrgyz president is also coming in, apart from Prime Minister Jagnod of Mauritius. But domestically, very potent message when invites have been sent out to the kin of those who've been, BJP cadres who've been killed in West Bengal in instances of political violence. Mamata Banerjee has not been able to appreciate it, but this would have been taken note by so many other people, not just the BJP's cadre.
Yeah, Gautam, first of all, Rashtrapati Bhavan is looking beautiful. The lighting and the decor that is going there and the arrangements that are being made are simply superb. Being there tomorrow evening would be a pleasure for anyone whosoever is invited among 6,000 invitees. Of course, you were talking at length about leaders from Prime Minister and Head of State from BIMSTEC. And then follows all diplomats and captains of business and industry, and celebrities of various hues. Then you have leaders of opposition, parliamentary party leaders, BJP office bearers, leaders from the state, from their allies. Then you also have people from, say, like you mentioned, those kins of those who were killed in West Bengal in political violence, as also a lot from media, and the list goes on and on, around 6,000. This is, I think, biggest of its kind, any ceremony that has taken place in Rashtrapati Bhavan. So arrangement side, this would be a challenge for those concerned in organizing it, but the message of it, last time when Modi took over on 26 May 2014, he invited SAARC leader. This time he expanded, this time he is inviting BIMSTEC plus Mauritius and some other countries where India has some special relationship. Then the purpose of making it outdoor than doing it inside Darbar Hall is also to make it a public event. There have not been many occasions when this has taken place in forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan. I think 2 other occasions besides second occasion of the Prime Minister Modi himself. The message that goes from there, that Modi, of course, he is taking his own people along, and also the international community and those who are immediate neighborhood of India, and therefore I think also the kind of cabinet formation that would be there, partners, various partners, I think like JDU was not present last time,
Yes.
they are going to be there, AIDMK was not there, perhaps somebody from there is going to be in the Council of Ministers. So that way, I think that process should also be keenly watched as to which
Naturally.
area, which leaders are going to be inducted in Council of Ministers.
But Dilip Singh, what do you make of this invite? Two different kinds of invitations, really, if you look at how the world is these days. One for the Kyrgyz president, and then for Prime Minister Jugnauth.
Well, it goes beyond. As I said, BIMSTEC is an important organization, but there are other neighbors also that are important. And the Kyrgyz Republic has been invited because they are the chair of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization right now, and Mauritius, obviously, because Mauritius is a traditional friend of India. But one I think perhaps sad downside of this has been that two other important neighbors, Afghanistan and Maldives, have got left out because SAARC was not invited. Perhaps they too could have been added to this list because they're extremely important and friendly neighbors of India. So I feel sad for them.
Okay. Well, let's return to what's happening as far as domestic affairs are concerned. Well, on the eve of the swearing-in ceremony, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has sent a letter to the Prime Minister asking to be left out of the new Council of Ministers on health grounds. He'd been soldiering on so far in the midst of treatment, but informed the PM now in writing of his desire to be allowed a reasonable time for himself, his treatment and his health. Later, Prime Minister Modi also met Arun Jaitley at his residence.
Just a day before the swearing-in ceremony of the new government, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley Wednesday wrote to Prime Minister Narendra Modi saying he does not want to be a minister in the new government, citing health reasons. He had posted on Twitter the letter he wrote to the Prime Minister requesting recusal from being a part of the new government on health grounds. I am writing to you to formally request you that I should be allowed a reasonable time for myself, my treatment and my health, and therefore not be a part of any responsibility for the present in the new government. Jaitley was admitted to AIIMS last week to undergo tests and treatment and was discharged on Thursday, the day results of the Lok Sabha elections were announced. He unfortunately could not attend celebrations at BJP headquarters that evening after the party's historic win. In the letter, Jaitley said during the last 18 months he has had some serious health challenges. My doctors have enabled me to emerge out of most of them. After the campaign had concluded and you were leaving for Kedarnath, I had orally informed you that even though I was able to discharge the responsibilities assigned to me during the campaign, I would in future for some time like to keep away from any responsibility. This will enable me to concentrate on my treatment and health. Jaitley was the leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha from 2009 to 2014 and leader of the House from 2014 onwards. While as finance minister he steered through parliament major economic legislations such as GST, which had languished for nearly 2 decades. He has also played a key role in getting through several other laws such as the bill to ban Muslim instant divorce practice known as Triple Talaq, and also articulately defended the Rafale fighter jet deal. He entered parliament at the age of 47 when he was nominated to Rajya Sabha from Gujarat. In 2014, he was made the finance minister and also handled briefly the additional charge of defence and information and broadcasting ministries. With Bureau Inputs, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Well, let's talk about this as well, because if Arun Jaitley is not there, that opens up a big possibility for the induction of someone of high stature in the Union Cabinet. And Sanjay Singh, what is your perspective on this? The Prime Minister visited Arun Jaitley in the evening as well, and we'll probably know what it was all about perhaps only tomorrow.
Yeah, see, Prime Minister Modi's and Arun Jaitley's relationship dates back to decades when Jaitley was a young leader from DUSU and also an activist from AVP and the BJP. And Naveen Modi was a pracharak and was coming to Delhi principally to pursue his bachelor degree. And from there on they had this relationship, the particular camaraderie, friendship, and then subsequently they grew together in political life. He was a very good friend and a very trusted colleague in terms of almost everything. Today, when Prime Minister Modi visited Mr. Jaitley's house, of course, that is in pretext to the letter he sent. And the letter, of course, he made it formal a day ahead of a swearing-in ceremony of a Council of Ministers. This was being talked about for last few days. His health conditions was being talked about as to whether or not he would be able to join the government. And he himself cleared the air and put rest to all kinds of speculations that were there. He had been a very trusted colleague for Mr. Modi, able Prime Minister, Finance Minister, and a very articulate leader. Perhaps I would rate him as the most articulate leader in the BJP, a person with great deal of intellectual heft, and also administrative acumen, a very good political strategist. And hopefully he would continue to be so once his, he fights his health conditions and comes out well. And today, him going there, I think it's more of a kind of asking about his health, how he is progressing, and also to inquire various other things because of the kind of relationship they have. And also, if at all some inputs have to be exchanged about government formation and so on and so forth. Remember, Mr. Jaitley had very vital say in 2014.
There were some news channels, some other people speculating that the PM has gone to convince him to stick around still. But do you feel that's possible when Mr. Jaitley has indicated himself that he would like some time to heal?
Yeah, precisely. He must have talked about it, but fact remains convincing him as if this is purely for health reasons. And the kind of relationship they have, Jaitley will not surprise Modi by writing this kind of letter.
I think he mentioned that, and he spoke to him first earlier.
When he was going to Kedarnath and prior to that. Otherwise, he is person who should have been holding fort during campaigning somewhere in some part of strategizing, talking to people, to marshalling out troops. And we have seen him as a strategist, as a public campaigner, as somebody who is kind of always very energetic, coming out with new thoughts and ideas. So I think if he is not there in ministry tomorrow, most likely so, because he has himself said so. I think that's a loss for.
But we avoided speculating about who will become what in the new Council of Ministers, and we will not do that at this point. This is literally the 11th hour. There's only just a few more hours to go. We'll find out when we hear the names. When we hear the names being called out. But what's also happened is that Time magazine has come out with an article that says Prime Minister Modi has united the country like no other Prime Minister. In the new issue of Time, an article titled "Modi has united India like no Prime Minister in decades," founder and chief executive of London-based media organization India Inc. Group, Manoj Lerma, has written an article in which the PM has been highly praised. An excerpt reads, and I quote, "Modi united India like no Prime Minister in decades. Narendra Modi was born into one of India's most disadvantaged social groups. In reaching the very top, he personifies the aspirational working classes and can self-identify with his country's poorer citizens in a way that the Nehru-Gandhi political dynasty, who have led India for most of 72 years since independence, simply cannot. No Prime Minister has united the Indian electorate as much in close to 5 decades." Dilip Sinha is with us. Dilip Sinha, what do you make of this telling comment, especially from Time magazine? It seems that Time magazine sands shifted quite a bit in the course of the counting of votes.
Yes, it feels good to see articles like this in the international media, but one must remember, as you mentioned, Time magazine was the one that called him a divider-in-chief just a few weeks ago. So one should take these things with a pinch of salt. The international media, especially many of these magazines, have their own access to grind, their own biases. We have to look at what our verdict is, our people's verdict, and what our assessment is, rather than worrying too much about what the international media has to say. Especially Time magazine is not the most leading magazine of this kind in the world. They are better observers of international
and perhaps
events.
A better parameter for judging the way this election and its result has been received is the congratulatory message that have poured in from world leaders of all kinds of all nature of countries really ever since, even before, in fact, soon after the exit polls came out, we had messages dropping in.
Absolutely, and we should have the self-confidence to know that we are a major country in the world, and everybody looks to us to play a certain role in international affairs. We don't need certificates from any magazines or newspapers of this.
Yes, and Sanjay Singh, in terms of the swearing in tomorrow, apart from looking at what's on the menu, what the country is really eyeing is what's on the menu for the country, for all sections of society, the poorest, people who are looking for tax cuts as well. So there's a whole nature of different kind of aspirations that the Prime Minister has indicated that he will cater to, and we might see some of that unfolding even in the sense of who he appoints in which responsibility.
See, Gautam, tomorrow this is going to be a two-phase program. First phase and second phase, of course, is not a public program, but of course swearing-in ceremony where we are going to see as to how many ministers are going to take oath, in the sense the cabinet ministers and minister of state. Some of them would be independent charge. And also
you get to know about the responsibilities in the course of the night?
Yeah, and that would come later, and also we would count as to how many women are there, last time how many were there, and then a whole lot of other side stories that come around with them, and also the profile of some of the ministers. So that would be very interesting, because some of ministers we know from the outgoing minister are surely to be there, say about 2/3 would be there. The addition of 1/3, as I judge it, the addition of 1/3, their profile as to who they are, which part of the country they are coming in, what had been their contribution to the society and to the polity, all those things would be analyzed. And part B, I think
there is always talk about representativeness as well, and in this context there's of course JDU, which has got a good crop of MPs. There's the BJP's own crop of MPs from a state like Karnataka, for instance.
Yeah, precisely. And they have also done well in West Bengal,
Yes.
Orissa, of course. West Bengal, we had 2 ministers, both MOS, and this time they have 18 MPs from there. Then you have also good numbers, 8 from Orissa, and also southern representation as to how it goes. And then when portfolios are announced, all eyes would be as to who gets finance minister, and the biggest thing for tomorrow would be whether or not Amit Shah gets into the Council of Ministers. He of course has great stature in the party, and also has proven that he is one of those finest strategists, political strategists, and also somebody perhaps I would rate as most successful president from BJP. Of course, previous presidents have had their contributions. Somebody like Vajpayee created that party.
Coming into government is to happen, then one also has to talk about who will replace him in the party.
Yeah, of course, but he need not immediately, if he gets into the Council of Ministers, the cabinet, he need not immediately relinquish the charge. Of course, BJP follows one person, one post formula, and therefore he has to relinquish this charge, but this does not have to come immediately. He can do that a month later or 2 months later, maybe after this round of assembly elections in Maharashtra, Jharkhand and Haryana, and possibly somebody may take over immediately thereafter. We don't know whether that depends whether or not he gets into the cabinet. The big talk of course is about that, but one thing I have observed this time around, I'm not seeing the kind of hectic lobbying that was going that went on in 2014, 9, 4, 97, 98 and prior to that. Essentially, the Prime Minister's message has been taken well by his MPs, even the serving ministers, and even those aspiring to get into Council of Ministers. And in past 5 years, Modi has, people have seen that no matter how you do your lobby, no matter who you contact, somebody who you perceive to be very influential, having his maybe years to Prime Minister, but that is not, that is not happening this time. People have in his party have actually, and also alliance partner have to select their own nominees. People in his party have taken his message very, very seriously, that that lobbying and pushing and pulling could be counterproductive for their fortunes.
Now, Dilip Sinha, we also have to talk about, how this message of the invitation to world leaders and, of course, foreign envoys for the swearing-in ceremony will be taken by the entire world community, because Prime Minister Modi, as soon as he begins work officially after being sworn in, will be engaging with the world quite a bit, even in this year, including the Chinese president. And
Yes.
there will be G20 meet as well.
Yes, there's going to be a busy schedule ahead of him. There's the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting coming up. G20, you mentioned, they're coming up in June itself. And then later in the year, President Xi Jinping comes here. In addition, you have the various crises brewing in the Gulf.
Correct.
For example, Iran is an example. This is going to be the most important challenge immediately, because oil prices are already showing trends towards an upward trend. The Gulf is extremely unsettled right now, and one doesn't know what shape it will take. Then there is the trade war between China and the US, and that is impacting stock markets all over the world. It has impacted the stock market in India. That's another issue that India will have to tackle. Anybody who takes over finance and commerce, these people will have
Tariffs and an issue between the US and India as well.
Absolutely, that's also extremely important. Then the developments in WTO, where the US is pressing for almost abolition of the dispute settlement mechanism. All these issues are extremely important and difficult issues that are coming up as we enter the last year of President Donald Trump, and then he goes into re-election mode. So all these factors are challenges that will have to be dealt with by the new government.
And of course, Sanjay is saying we've seen a lot of articles being written as well in foreign publications about what sort of agenda in terms of the country's economy will the Prime Minister pursue. Will it be because of the mandate that he's got, will he go full steam ahead on reforms that might seem to be tough, even unpopular, or it will be more in terms of the kind of social welfare bent that he showed in a large part throughout his tenure as well, but even more so in the latter half.
Gautam, people of India really don't care as to what Western media is writing about this government and our polity and our society. You just talked about Time magazine. That reflects on Time magazine and nobody else. That first article itself was condemned. I think that was pathetic in taste.
I think Dilip was being very mild when he said,
yeah, he was. I'm saying very openly, and completely somebody's own mind, what we now call Latins and Khan market gang, and therefore that was that kind of, and therefore if somebody today, if Time is praising the country is not going gaga and we are not very happy that somebody has changed on some positive, some negative articles. Today Amartya Sen has written something. Shall we comment on the writers themselves? Some positive, of course, some write-ups by enlightened people, of course, are important. That shapes policy. That also is some kind of advice to policymakers. But what has lately happened, that they have been so polarized that actually objective view is coming very less, and therefore people have actually stopped thinking in terms of the way you actually write, either targeting him or praising him. And therefore I think the policy makers here are a competent set of people. The policy makers who would be invited by this government would be competent people, and I think Prime Minister's vision, the kind of commitment that he has, he had said in previous times he was focused on fulfilling basic needs, and this time he would address to aspirations. I think the Council of Ministers and the bureaucrats and everybody concerned down the line will have, I think, very, very busy days in times to come.
Naturally. And in terms of the overall foreign policy, Dilip Sinha, how do you see it going forward? Do you feel that it will follow the kind of course that is laid down, that has been laid down in the first term itself of Prime Minister Modi, or do you feel that there might be certain tweaks and adjustments?
Well, the broad contours are going to remain the same, because foreign policy moves on a certain consensus. But as I said, the challenges that come up in between are extremely important. As I said, relations with China will need to be dealt with very carefully and cautiously because of the US-China position, and then the Chinese involvement with North
Because
Korea.
the 5G domain, again, that's another major geopolitical frontier that needs to be crossed by India. The rest of the world is also, a bit ahead over there. So, and that will also be a big determinant as to which way our economic and foreign policy is going.
Yes, in fact,
it speaks of the tandem.
Yeah, that in fact will be a very important decision, because now that the US has imposed a ban on Huawei, the Chinese company, a telecom company, and Google has gone ahead and broken its relations with Huawei.
Yes.
At this point, whether we go in for Huawei for 5G will have very serious, important, it will be a very important decision with important implications, especially knowing that Huawei has security concerns as well for
there are
Western
implicated
countries.
security
Absolutely.
concerns.
So that itself will be a major indicator of which way we are leaning. Whether we lean towards China and towards Huawei, or towards South Korea, or towards any other country which can offer us 5G, because we have to go towards 5G to keep our telecommunications up to date.
Yes, and Huawei is, of course, not the only one. It may hold a large part of the market because of certain economic advantages, but there are companies in Europe as well. So there is competition in that field. It's not as if it has to be a Chinese company.
But China offers very competitive prices.
Correct.
And China uses these as foreign policy tools.
And India has to be price sensitive as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. For us, price is very important. So if you gotta go for a global tender and look at the price element, then obviously China will beat everybody else hollow, because they will be much cheaper than South Korea or Europe. At the same time, we have to look at our security concerns, keeping in mind the fact that the Western countries have identified Huawei as a security concern or reliability. For us, China is a lot more difficult neighbor than it is for, let's say, Europe or the US. So we have to keep that in mind when taking this decision on 5G.
And as far as the domestic big ticket issues are concerned, Sajay, the indication had come, when the NDA leaders had met right after the exit polls, and they had come out with a statement, a declaration of sorts, where they had very clearly indicated that a lot of the emphasis of Modi government 2.0 is going to be on infrastructure. They spend majorly on that, and the farm sector. That was also very telltale. So that is a clear indication of in which direction is this government going to be headed starting tomorrow evening.
Two things, Gautam. We had interim budget presented in February, and therefore the main budget has to be presented sometime next month.
Yes.
And the main contours would come.
I think the session is beginning from the 6th of June, maybe.
Yeah, so they're 10th perhaps.
10th? Okay.
Or
we don't have official dates.
We don't have exact dates,
Yes.
but that will follow shortly thereafter. And then we actually get to know as to what new things this government has to offer. In the meantime, they have made certain promises to farmers. He has also made a promise about some pension scheme for small traders and also for farmers, and waiving that 5-acre ceiling for that Kisan Jan Samman Nidhi Yojana. And the fact that he had said that this time he would be focusing on aspirations, that broadly to me, to my understanding, means that A, job creation, B, stress on infrastructure, C, I think agricultural productivity and raising farmers' income, essentially do things which give put more money in pocket of Aam Aadmi, Indians at large, and
because
also
restart the consumption cycle.
Yeah, and I can be happy that some tax relief would be given, or you could be happy that some tax relief,
any taxpayer would be happy.
any relief.
They're all law-abiding taxpayers.
Yeah, and so therefore a great deal of expectation on this government, a burden of expectation on this government in 2014 itself was huge. I think that has magnified. But what the difference between 2014 and now, by now Modi also, for having 5 years as Prime Minister, he knows how to move forward, how the system works, and how to speed up that system. He has done so in the past. People in him, he was hoping 2014, during my election coverage while traveling to various parts of the country in the hinterland, I realized that people now have started having some kind of belief in him that he is there to deliver, he is the only person who can deliver, and therefore you have seen this kind of mandate. So, and he says that having aspirations is not bad, this is actually good for the government, that pushes government hard to deliver, and I think we would see some of those measures when the budget is presented.
Well, looking forward to a lot unfolding right after that evening tomorrow at Rashtrapati Bhavan, the swearing-in ceremony, the grand swearing-in ceremony. A lot of people will be looking upon that, not just in the country, but also, at foreign shores all over the world with a lot of expectations. Thanks a lot for joining us in the time being, Sanjay Singh as well as Dilip Sinha. All right, now after the elections debacle, legal trouble seemed to be mounting for the Gandhi family. The Enforcement Directorate has now permanently attached several properties worth 64 crore rupees in Haryana's Panchkula in connection with the National Herald case. In addition, the Anti-Money Laundering Agency has also summoned Congress President Rahul Gandhi's brother-in-law, Robert Vadra, for questioning tomorrow in connection with illegal purchase of high-end properties abroad.
There seems to be no end to the trouble for the Congress and the Gandhi family. In the National Herald case, Enforcement Directorate has permanently attached properties worth 64 crore rupees located at Panchkula in Haryana. These properties were attached by the probe agency in December 2018. The properties that have been attached include a plot in Sector 6 in Panchkula. The ED says this property was illegally allotted to AJL by the then CM of Haryana, Bhupinder Singh Hooda. Hooda was then the chairman of the Haryana Urban Development Authority. BJP has hit out at the Congress and the Gandhi family over the issue.
रोबर्ट वाड्रा इन्होंने जहाँ पर कांग्रेस शासित सरकारें रहीं वहाँ पर इन्होंने जहाँ इनका दाव लगा इन्होंने खूब धांधलियाँ की हैं और हरियाणा में भी की हैं। तो अब ईडी ने उनसे पूछताछ कर रही है और उनको नोटिस दिया है और उसमें ये बच नहीं सकते किसी भी तरह से।
The ED has also summoned Congress President Rahul Gandhi's brother-in-law, Robert Vadra, to appear before it on Thursday in connection with a money laundering case linked to the purchase of alleged illegal assets abroad. The Enforcement Directorate moved the court last week seeking cancellation of the anticipatory bail given to Vadra in this case, and the Delhi High Court had then issued notice to him seeking his response. The ED, which had grilled Vadra over a dozen times in this case, had told the Delhi High Court that it required Vadra's custody as he was not cooperating in the investigation, and the trial court had not discussed the gravity of the offence in its order that gave relief to Vadra. The ED case against Vadra relates to allegations of money laundering in the purchase of a London-based property located at 12 Bryanston Square, worth 1.9 million Great Britain pounds, which is allegedly owned by him. The Enforcement Directorate on Wednesday opposed Robert Vadra's plea in a Delhi court, seeking permission to fly to the United Kingdom and 2 other countries, citing health problems. Vadra also submitted a medical certificate. Vadra has rubbished the claims made by the ED and called it politically motivated. With inputs from Neeraj Singh, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Now, while the PM swearing-in ceremony will write fresh pages of history tomorrow, even Wednesday was quite landmark. It saw Naveen Patnaik being sworn in as Odisha's Chief Minister for the 5th time, along with 20 others as members of his Council of Ministers. In Arunachal Pradesh, it was Pema Khandu who took oath with 11 ministers. The PM has congratulated both the leaders. Tomorrow, Jagan Mohan Reddy is also taking oath of office in Andhra Pradesh after winning the state elections by a landslide.
After the historic win in the Lok Sabha elections, the chief ministers were sworn in Odisha and Arunachal Pradesh on Wednesday. In Odisha, it was Naveen Patnaik who took the oath as the chief minister, and in Arunachal, it was Pema Khandu. In Odisha, Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik took the oath of office in secrecy for the 5th time. Odisha Governor Ganeshi Lal administered the oath of office to the chief minister and 20 ministers, which includes 11 cabinet ministers. 10 new faces have been inducted this time in the Patnaik cabinet. This time the oath-taking ceremony was held outside the Raj Bhavan. It took place at the exhibition ground. President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Modi congratulated Naveen Patnaik. President Kovind spoke to Patnaik over the phone and Prime Minister Modi congratulated him for state's development. Prime Minister Modi tweeted, I quote, "Congratulations to Shri Naveen Patnaik ji on taking oath as Odisha's Chief Minister. Best wishes to him and his team in fulfilling the people's aspirations. I assure complete cooperation from the centre in working for Odisha's progress." Patnaik became the Chief Minister for the first time in 2000. Naveen Patnaik's father, Biju Patnaik, has been the Chief Minister of Odisha. After his father's demise in 1997, Naveen Patnaik entered politics and after a year floated his own party, Biju Janata Dal. Apart from Patnaik, two other chief ministers who have served as the chief minister for 5 times are Jyoti Basu of West Bengal and Pawan Chamling of Sikkim. In the assembly elections recently held, the Biju Janata Dal had 112 seats out of 146.
I, Pema Khandu, do swear in the name of God that I will bear true faith
in
and
Arunachal
allegiance to
Pradesh,
the
senior
Constitution
BJP
of
leader
India
Pema Khandu took
as
charge as
by
the
law
chief minister
established,
of the state.
that I will uphold
Governor Brigadier retired B.D. Mishra administered the oath of office and secrecy. 11 ministers also took the oath of secrecy. In the 60-member assembly, the BJP had won 41 seats.
हमारा गवर्नमेंट ने तय किया है, हमारा प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर होगा सबसे पहले लॉ एंड ऑर्डर को सिचुएशन को संभालने के लिए। मैं जनता को ये आश्वासन देना चाहेगा कि आने वाला दिनों में भारतीय जनता पार्टी एक बहुत ही क्लीन, ट्रांसपेरेंट, करप्शन फ्री सरकार हम चलाएंगे।
Prime Minister Modi congratulated Pema Khandu on Twitter. He said, I quote, "Congratulations to the dynamic Pema Khandu on being sworn in as the Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh. Best wishes to him and his team in taking Arunachal Pradesh to newer heights of growth and glory. Looking forward to working together for the state's citizens, especially the youth." Assembly elections had also taken place in Arunachal Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Sikkim and Odisha, along with the Lok Sabha elections. The governments have been formed in Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim and Odisha. In Andhra Pradesh, Jagan Mohan Reddy will take oath as the Chief Minister. With inputs from Bhubaneswar and Itanagar Bureau, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Now, the leadership crisis in the Congress has still not abated. Several rounds of meetings of leaders have yielded no result, with party president Rahul Gandhi adamant over quitting. A demonstration was held on the streets of the national capital with the "Rahul, please don't go" refrain, while the Rajasthan unit of the party even passed a resolution to urge the national president to continue leading the party. The situation in the Karnataka coalition government also remains tenuous.
The leadership crisis in the country's oldest political party, the Indian National Congress, continues for the 4th day after the party president Rahul Gandhi tendered his resignation following the party's debacle in the Lok Sabha elections. Rahul Gandhi's decision to step down as Congress president has not been accepted as yet, and he is not taking back his decision to quit. On Wednesday too, a round of meetings continued in Delhi, with several party leaders trying to convince Rahul Gandhi to stay. Showing their support for Rahul Gandhi's leadership, several Congress workers from the Delhi Pradesh Congress carried party flags trying to convince him to revoke his decision to quit the leadership.
हमारा काम रिक्वेस्ट करना है कि वो आगे कंटिन्यू करके रहें एज अ प्रेसिडेंट और संगठन को मजबूत करें, हमें दिशा निर्देश दें और बाकी जो राहुल गांधी जी फैसला करेंगे हम उस फैसले के साथ में रहेंगे।
The Rajasthan Pradesh Congress Committee went a step further, passing a resolution on Wednesday for the party not to accept the resignation of Rahul Gandhi as Congress National President.
राजस्थान प्रदेश कांग्रेस कमेटी की कार्यकारिणी की यह बैठक प्रदेश के समस्त कांग्रेस जनों की भावनाओं के अनुरूप सर्वसम्मति से केंद्रीय कार्यकारिणी में पारित प्रस्ताव का अनुमोदन करती है और आपके प्रति पूर्ण विश्वास व्यक्त करते हुए आपसे अनुरोध करती है कि आप हमें अपना प्रभावी नेतृत्व प्रदान करते रहें।
The Congress JDS coalition government in Karnataka is in damage control mode. Congress General Secretary K.C. Venugopal held several meetings with party leaders and legislators in Bengaluru, which was attended by Chief Minister and JDS leader H.D. Kumaraswamy.
About the government, and government is safe. We have no problem as far as the government is concerned. There may be statements by different people like BJP leaders. I don't think there is anything to worry about.
Coalition government in Karnataka is under trouble. They are only after trying to save their own seat. Their own MLAs are speaking against the government. Siddaramaiah and Kumaraswamy, they are conducting meetings after meeting. And in spite of all this, the crisis has not been solved. and the government is totally, it might collapse at any moment.
The Congress is not the only party going through the pains of political isolation. MLAs and Legislative Council members of the RJD met at Rabri Devi's residence in Patna to review the party's rout in Bihar in the Lok Sabha elections. The meeting was chaired by Tejasvi Yadav.
हम लोग जो है हौसला नहीं हारे हैं, हम लोग मजबूती के साथ महागठबंधन के लोग एकजुट है, मजबूती के साथ आगे का जो चुनाव होगा, जो चुनौती होगी, उसका हम लोग जो है एकजुट रह करके मुकाबला करने का काम करेंगे.
Politics is a game of survival, and no party can survive political isolation. All opposition parties will need to work hard to regain the trust of the people. That's the simple message of their collective defeat. Newsnight Desk, DD News.
Now, the Supreme Court today dismissed a plea of newly elected Congress MP Karti Chidambaram seeking the return of 10 crore rupees which he had deposited with the court's registry for travelling abroad. Karti Chidambaram is facing criminal cases being probed by the Central Bureau of Investigation and the Enforcement Directorate. A vacation bench comprising Chief Justice of India Ranjan Gogoi and Justice Aniruddha Bose rejected Karti's plea and told him to pay attention to his constituency. Karti claimed he had taken the money on loan and was paying interest on it. The Delhi University has decided to put the mark sheets and other academic documents of students seeking admission to its colleges to forensic test starting this year. The Bharati took the decision in the run-up to the start of admission process from Thursday. The university will also provide colleges a list of empaneled agencies from where they can have the documents checked forensically. DU Admission Committee, however, is yet to finalize the agency to hold the entrance tests for admissions to its various courses, attributing it to the delay in the start of the admission process. The Delhi University is also contemplating issuing smart identity cards to students starting this year. And the heat is well and truly on, and it is getting turned up each passing day. The Met Department hasn't forecast any relief on the horizon from the loo and heat wave conditions almost all over North India. Maharashtra's Vidarbha region was the worst of today, Nagpur recording a maximum of 47.7 degrees Celsius.
There is a severe heat wave in North India, including the national capital. The Meteorological Department has predicted that scorching dry heat will continue for the next 2 to 3 days in and around the national capital. From Delhi to Maharashtra, there has been no respite from the heat, with streets wearing a deserted look. Vidarbha region of Maharashtra saw near record high temperatures, with Nagpur sizzling at 47.7 degrees Celsius. Gujarat too is facing the brunt of the summer sun. Ahmedabad recorded a temperature of 44 degrees Celsius, with the Met Office issuing an orange alert in view of the heat wave.
अहमदाबाद में खास करके अगर देखा जाए तो हमने ऑरेंज अलर्ट दिया है. अहमदाबाद में टेम्परेचर 44 डिग्री सेल्सियस टच करने की संभावना है, इवन उसका पार भी जा सकता है.
Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh have been in the middle of a spell of very hot weather. Bhopal also crossed the 44-degree mark on Wednesday, while Jabalpur was thereabouts at over 43 degrees Celsius. Raipur has been facing a drinking water shortage to add to their heat wave woes, with temperatures crossing 43 degrees Celsius. In Uttar Pradesh, the heritage city of Prayagraj was sizzling at 47.3 degrees Celsius. Agra's temperature was about 44, and the state capital Lucknow mirrored Delhi at around 43.6 degrees Celsius.
बहुत गर्मी है तो दोपहर में निकलना बहुत मुश्किल है. अगर कुछ पहले से इंतजाम नहीं करने पे ठंडा पानी होता है, कोई छाता होता है, या कहीं बहुत गर्मी लगे तो कोई छाव की जरूरत पहले पड़ती है, और आजकल तो दोपहर में निकलना बहुत मुश्किल हो गया है अभी तो.
The Meteorological Department is keeping an eye on the monsoon that is pulled towards the country by the heat generated in central and northern India. The monsoons are currently advancing towards South Bay of Bengal, Andaman Islands and North Andaman Sea. But the heat wave is likely to increase in the next 3 to 4 days in the north of India.
अभी तक तापमान कंट्रोल में रहे थे क्योंकि थंडरस्टॉर्म एक्टिविटी काफी होती रही पीछे. डस्टॉर्म आए, थंडरस्टॉर्म आए, स्क्वाल आए, बारिश भी होती रही. लेकिन अब पिछले कुछ दिनों से क्योंकि थंडरस्टॉर्म एक्टिविटी नहीं है, डब्ल्यूडी का कोई प्रभाव नहीं उत्तर भारत में हो रहा है पिछले लगभग 4-5 दिनों से, तो ऐसे में पारा बढ़ गया है. हीट वेव कंडीशंस पहले ही राजस्थान में कई जगह हो गई है, खासकर पश्चिमी राजस्थान तो सभी में हीट वेव बनी हुई है.
While the plains have been scorching, the hills too have been facing the heat. In Uttarakhand, forest fires have been increasing due to unusually high temperatures. Forest fires also cause considerable loss of biodiversity. Rural folk and forest personnel have been doing their best to extinguish the fires. The temperatures in Jammu too have shot up, as they have in Himachal Pradesh. Meanwhile, Rajasthan continues to experience loo, as does Telangana in South India. 14 people have died due to heat wave in Andhra Pradesh. In Karnataka too, Kalaburgi is seeing temperatures in the mid-40s. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Time now for some more national updates in our regional roundup.
In Uttar Pradesh, after successful implementation of Saubhagya scheme, the government is now planning to provide 24-hour power supply to the rural areas of the state for agricultural work. After a blow to former Kolkata Police Commissioner Rajiv Kumar, another West Bengal top cop has come under the scanner in connection with the Sharda chit fund scam. CBI began questioning senior police officer Arnab Ghosh in connection with the Sharda chit fund scam. The Delhi High Court sought the response of the centre on a PIL seeking implementation of measures to control the country's rising population on the grounds that it was the root cause of the rise in crimes, pollution and the dearth of resources and jobs. Fire continues to rage and spread in forests of Uttarakhand, with multiple fires reported from the Theri forest area. Firefighting operations are underway in the area. The fires rage as the temperatures continue to soar with no rain. In Jammu and Kashmir, one terrorist has been killed after a gunfight broke out between security forces and hold-up terrorists in Kulgam district. The country continues to grapple with soaring temperatures, with the national capital expected to witness over 45 degrees Celsius this week. At the same time, IMD has issued a warning of heavy rainfall at isolated areas over sub-Himalayan West Bengal, Sikkim, Assam, Meghalaya, Andaman and Nicobar Islands.
In news from the business world, equity markets turned a tail on their three-day record-setting run after the landslide general election results today. Investors scrambled to book profits, with a broad reversal also witnessed among global markets over recession fears. Traders offloaded banking, metal and auto stocks after the 10-year US bond yields slipped below 3-month rates, which is considered a leading indicator of recession. After sliding over 300 points, the BSE Sensex ended the day down by 247.68 points or 0.62% at 39,502.05. The Nifty also followed the same downward path, closing at 11,861.1, down by 67.65 points or 0.57%. And in sports, it's all about, well, the World Cup. In cricket, well, host England will take on South Africa in the opening match of World Cup 2019, and the two teams have at each other from the time South Africa returned to world cricket in 1992. England are being carded as one of the favourites for World Cup 2019, and while South Africa are not really being considered strong contenders, they are good enough to take the battle to any team on their day. However, World Cup 2019 may end up being a little different, with England looking in their best form to win the elusive trophy. But South Africa will have a thing or two to say about that, and being the first match for England, this contest could well be quite an interesting one. Well, I bet all cricket fans are looking forward to it, and also the first India match also against South Africa on the 5th of June. And on that note, it's good night.